Want awesome tabletop games delivered right to your door? Sign up now for Gamebox Monthly. Learn more at GameboxMonthly.com. Hello and welcome to Elaborate. It's me, your host, Jake Lloyd. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for sticking with us. I'm in New York right now. Well, not right now where I'm recording this, but right now when you're hearing it, if you're listening to it in any sort of timely fashion, I am probably enjoying time with my family as we speak. But we'll save that for another day because right now I am sitting down with one of my absolute favorite people. He is tall, he is handsome, he is incredibly talented. He is Matthew Hingstman. Hey, Matt.
Hi, Jake.
How's it going, bud?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks so much for coming on. You are one of my closest friends, and when I started doing this, it was obvious that I would eventually have a sit-down chat with you.
Right.
And you were a little trepidatious.
I am. I'm very nervous right now.
You're nervous right now?
Yeah. Well, let me say first, I'm a long-time listener. First-time caller. No, I've been looking forward to this. Been looking forward to sitting down and talking with you.
You are an anomaly of human beings.
Okay.
You're one of my absolute favorite people, and you're one
Likewise.
of the few people. Oh, thanks, bud. You're one of the few people in LA who I know who literally I can't think of a single person who's ever been like, fucking Matt Hingstman. Like everybody likes you, Matt.
Yeah.
And generally, a person who doesn't have anybody who doesn't like them, something's not right. Like there's a semblance of either like inability to connect with people, maybe like a shallowness or a fear. Like you can't not have any enemies. Do you know what I mean? And be completely on the level. Yet for some reason, I feel like I don't put you in that category. And there are plenty of people that you and I both know who I put in that category.
Sure, absolutely. That is something I wonder. Friends talk, and not that we talk shit.
Yeah, but
we say things about our friends like,
fucking gossip. It's gossip. It's human nature.
But I wonder that, like, what do people say about me? Do they even like, oh, I can't believe what Lank did, or I don't know. I'm really curious.
Yeah, no.
What people say behind my back.
We should preface a little bit here for people who don't know you. You're a writer, director. I met you like in a larger friends group where I've met previous guests of the show, Brian Finifter, and just the essentially the group.
Yeah.
You make the majority of your income currently working G&E, working as a grip and electric.
Yes, I'm primarily an electric.
Gotcha.
These days.
And so for people who don't know what that is.
So in film and television lighting, you have grips and electrics.
Grips shit.
Yeah, they do. They do grip shit. So electricians will power the lights and set up the lights.
Right.
And run power for the set if anybody on set needs power. Right. And grips will shape and alter the light.
Okay.
So they say, all right, we need a light here. So I will come in, put it up, plug it in,
walk away.
And then I'll walk away. And then they'll say, oh, okay, well, we like how it's hitting the actor, but we don't like how it's hitting the background. So then the grip will come in and take it off the background.
So you primarily are working electric then these days?
Yes, almost entirely.
Well, the reason I wanted to get into the fact that you're doing that is because we do work on a lot of things together. We work on a lot of things with our friends. And I think one of the reasons why people aren't bitching about you is because you have a fantastic work ethic. You don't dick around. You get shit done. You're kind of like a no bullshit kind of guy, but simultaneously you're not like stiff or wooden. Do you know what I mean? Like you're jovial, you're fun to have around. And I think that that's part of it. I think that the sort of like gossipy nature of our friends group and of maybe just, honestly, I'm sure anybody can, sympathize with this in any career or industry you have. It's generally the people who you work with, who you have a problem with, who you then delve more into like, oh, well, they're awful. And also, do you know what happened in their personal life? Like there's that sort of thing. One of the reasons why is because you are so enjoyable to work with, and people that consistently work with you, they respect you very much for how good you are at what you do.
I appreciate that.
Maybe it doesn't I don't know. Maybe I'm just talking my ass here, but I feel like maybe it doesn't translate into like, oh, and also he's a jerk.
I don't know. maybe because I do have that specific lighting skill that not many of our friends have, and I do it professionally. So I guess that makes me
that's true, because a lot of people out here are like, yeah, I guess I'll come do that, but I don't, and you're just like, yeah, sure, I'll show up and I'll do the job that I do.
I'm also kind of like that if they don't want me to do lighting. Like, hey, do you mind holding this boom pole? Like, yeah, I guess I could. I'm like, all right. Is there like a light I could put up instead?
But that you've never shunned from helping me with any sort of creative endeavor.
No, I like helping people. I enjoy being outside. I enjoy making movies.
Right. Yeah. There's still a real passion there and love there.
Yeah.
We've talked recently about, like, we think some people love the outcome more than the process. When we have certain friends who it's like, well, you know what? I think that this person loves being a director or a writer more than they love directing and writing, that sort of thing. And I feel like you're still like really impassioned about film as an art form. And also, like, goodness gracious, I love movies and I love music. I don't know anybody who loves movie music as much as you do.
It's true.
You're obsessed with like cinema score and with...
It's my favorite genre, I would say, for sure.
It's your only genre. Like, I've never heard you... There's never been a pop song in your car ever, or like a radio station that's not, your Zune playing scores on mix. Why were you never like a musician if you're so obsessed with it?
I mean, I played music back in the day, but I don't know. It comes from back when you were saying I do love every part of the process of filmmaking. I like the writing. I like reading about screenwriting. I like directing. I like the posts. I was telling someone earlier today, like, oh, I'm really into like all the different departments. Like, I want to know. She was telling me about like, oh, when you use certain kinds of makeup with SPF, you can't. It's bad for photographs. I was like, oh, I wonder if that's like the same with film.
Right.
I was like, oh, okay, that's a good thing to remember in case we're ever doing our own thing.
Sure.
Like, hey, wait a minute, does that makeup have SPF?
Because you are also like, you've written and directed your own short film, and like you are sort of that guy who's like, oh no, I'm gonna do a little bit of everything. Although you haven't been like, I feel like of all of the friends too, you're the most cautious person that I know. We've talked about this.
How so?
We talked about this
in filmmaking or in general?
In filmmaking.
Okay.
As hungry and as your gusto that you have, you tend to be more like, well, this has got to be. You're very meticulous.
Yeah. Part of me wishes when I was younger and in my early 20s and mid 20s and stuff. I think that's the time where you make whatever, don't care about the quality too much. Just have stuff, learn,
make mistakes.
Make mistakes, exactly.
Right.
And at the risk of sounding very arrogant, I think you and
have you ever listened to the show before?
You have to be a little naive going into when you're making your own stuff. You kind of have to. Your imagination has to be a little bigger than what you're capable of.
Okay.
I think, and yeah, at the risk of sounding arrogant, I think I always knew a little bit more than I was capable of. I think I was always like, oh, you know what? I don't want to.
So you were
do
kind
this
of
because
a realist?
I think. Yeah, and I think you have to be not so much a realist.
That's
if this is the industry.
I can understand.
You want to
that.
make your own stuff. Yeah,
like the way that you saw it was like, well, I know it's not going to be what I want it to be.
Yeah, so I'm just not going to do it.
That's not healthy. That is
not
the message that anybody should get from this.
No, do not follow my lead.
Do you really regret? Like, why didn't you? Like, was it simply because of that? Did you not have friends that were like, oh, let's just do a thing? Because I feel like a lot of people end up doing the shit because it's like their peers drag them into it or push them into it.
Yeah, well, that was part of the reason I was excited to move to LA, because I moved from Philly, and all my friends were film people there. We all went to film school together, but they weren't people that were interested in making shorts on the weekend and stuff like that. And I always wanted to. And so when I moved to LA, I'm like, oh, I'm going to be with those like-minded people. Yeah. And I think the roommate I moved in with, Chad, whom I love, by the way.
And feature guest of the show, Chad Philip Peter.
There you go.
He's a writer, director, films like Apocalypse, California.
Right. Very talented guy. But I think he's a little older than I am. He was a few years ahead of me. So I think he was a little past the stage of where I wanted to be.
Oh, man.
He had already gone through that phase. Like, oh, let's make stuff all the time. I think if I had moved out here with people that are at the same stage that I was, like, what are we shooting this weekend? Oh, how about this thing? So I think I missed out.
So you blame Chad for all of your problems.
Chad, yes, exactly.
It's Chad's fault. I totally get that, though. And that's something I've struggled with as being somebody who's just sort of late to the game in general. I always wanted to be an actor and make movies. but it wasn't a thing like growing up on Long Island. Like, how do you do that? So I just didn't do it. And it wasn't until in my mid-20s that I started really taking it seriously and realizing like, oh, I could just do this myself. Or there are other people that are just doing it on small scale. And the problem with that was like, then I was with people who were younger than me.
Right.
And it's like, it's that feeling of, yeah, I am with people that are of the same caliber that I am, but they're so much younger than me that there's this difference of just like the way that you handle situations. Like, and then when I would meet people that were my age, then I'm in your problem where they're already like a few rungs up the ladder, so to speak, of experience, not necessarily success, but like.
Right. And then it gets hard to get them to help you because they're like, oh, we've been through that already.
Exactly. And and I'm at that point now where, I mean, it should be noted, my feature film Pinch, which people who are listening to this are probably sick of hearing about at this point. You were one of the people who were on the short list of like, hey, if I'm available, I'll help you out. So that movie was made with no crew. I mean, no budget, nothing. Like there were days where the only people on set were the actors and there was no additional crew whatsoever. And you were the one who was always like, hey, if I'm available, I'll come shoot for you. I'll come DP it, or I'll come, assistant director, whatever you were available to do. And I appreciate you. And I know that you're one of those guys. Inversely, there are plenty of people who I know would love to have helped, but are just like, I need money to do it. Or I need, you know what I mean? Like, because like you said, they're kind of they've advanced beyond the like, why am I doing this? And I don't have to say that they're not doing it for the love or the passion. God, I hate the term passion project so much, but that's what it is, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, you're lucky I like you. I like helping you out. I want to see you succeed. So
that makes one of us.
Plus, I'm going to need your help on my stuff. So
oh, that's what it's really about.
That's what it's really about.
Exactly. But in any case, to go back a little bit, you said that you moved out here from Philly.
Yep.
You're from Pennsylvania, went to school in New Jersey, or from New Jersey, went to school in Pennsylvania?
I'm from New Jersey. I went to school in Philadelphia, Drexel University.
Right. So how much you love Bruce Springsteen?
He's got some good songs. Thunder Road is
You're more of a Bon Jovi guy.
Film scores, remember? I only listen to
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot. No pop music, yeah. Well, I'm sure one of those two of them was in a movie. I'm sure, I know for a fact that Bruce Springsteen's been involved in some film projects.
Okay. I'll take your word for it.
So when did you went to Philly for college only?
Yes.
So you grew up, you spent your entire life in Jersey.
My entire life in Jersey, went to school in Philly. After I graduated, moved back home to New Jersey, but I stayed working in Philly. I pretty much jumped into Ripon Electric right away.
How far from where? So you must have not been that far into Jersey.
No, like 45 minutes.
So you even went to college pretty close to where you grew up.
It was nice in that I was close enough that I could go home whenever I wanted.
When you needed to do laundry.
Far enough that like my parents wouldn't drop by unannounced. It was a good distance.
45 minutes? That seems like a good distance.
Yeah, it was nice.
It takes me 45 minutes to get to your house sometimes, and it's 12 miles away. So you went to college specifically for film, though?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And what did you just go to a generic film program, like a writer director? Like everybody wants to be a director?
It was a generic film program. And I actually really liked it. I think they did things the way every film program should be. It was a good mixture of like hands-on and theory. And it was like half and half.
What about like practicality? Because this is my problem. And now I'm going to dog on film school somebody who didn't go to film school. So I befriended the film director of a film department. Or I'm sorry, the director of a film department. Okay. And so I got to, for a couple of years in Florida, watch a film school. Do you get what I'm saying? Be in the short films, but not actually have to go to the film school. And the thing that I noticed was none of these people are going to leave here with any ability to get a job. Mm-hmm. And every person that leaves here is going to only want to be a director.
Right.
Do you feel like that was the experience that you guys had? Were there some people that are in that film school that are like, because you obviously ended up being like, oh, like I could work in G&E or I can work in lighting. Like, so you came out of it with a specific task that you were working on, not necessarily towards, but that was helping you get work,
Right. Well, when I left, I wanted to be a cinematographer.
Oh, really?
That was
more than a director.
Yeah, that was kind of the plan.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Should I talk more about that? Or I can talk more about film school.
No, do whatever.
I have opinions on film school also.
Do it. Show me about film school.
So I think I loved film school. I feel like film school is also the only thing where people don't say I went to college. People say I went to film school, whether or not it was a film school or you just did the film program.
That's true.
Because I notice I say that. I'm like, do I sound like a douche if I say
no?
I went
You know
to
what?
film school?
You know
like,
what's
no, I went to the film
law
program.
school. I think people say law school. People went to law school.
Okay, that's very prestigious.
Yeah,
though.
yeah. So that's the top two: law school and film school.
That's it.
Talk about two ends of a fucking spectrum.
Yeah. I had a blast. I met amazing people. I had a really great time. And there's so much debate whether or not you should go or need to go. My opinion is if you can afford it, go.
Right. Yeah.
Part of it is not just you're learning how to be a filmmaker. You're going to college.
Right.
And that's such an amazing experience.
And as much as I dog on film school, the one thing that I really regret not having from a film school is like how many people that we know that are like they're working with the people that went to film school with.
Yeah.
We have this same group of people that we've been working with ever. So it's about the contacts, and that's something that I definitely missed. But
no, so if people are listening and wonder if they should go to film school, I say definitely go if you can afford it. If it's like going to be too much money and blah blah blah, like I could see not, but like you got all of your time in the world to work. Like go to school, have fun, you learn a lot. And I think a lot of people also say like, oh, why don't I take the money that I would have spent getting an education and make a film instead? But I think with film school, you're constantly making different stuff and you're getting constant feedback all the time. You're learning from other people.
Okay. So you went to film school and you're going back to Jersey afterwards and still working in Pennsylvania? Because isn't that sort of like where a lot of stuff is getting made in Pittsburgh and certain areas of Pennsylvania?
There was in Philly for a little bit. I think less so these days.
Really?
Yeah,
definitely. Because I feel like isn't that like wasn't it really well known for the horror director who made shit up there?
Shamalayan.
Shyamalan made stuff.
Shyamalan still shoots all his movies there. Yeah,
right.
And lots of my friends work on his movies.
Wait a minute.
I was in Lady in the Water.
I always forget. So Lady in the Water gets such a bad rap from people. I fucking love that movie, and I know that I'm wrong, but I don't care.
I have to rewatch it, but I remember watching it and hating it.
I really enjoy it. To me, it was just a really fun movie. I think everybody couldn't get over the fact that Shyamalan wrote a character that was like a prophet writer, and then he played it. I think people were like, all right, now it's like you're trolling us.
See, when I watched that, I didn't think that like, oh, it's Shyamalan himself who's propping himself up.
Yeah.
I thought he was just standing saying like, I made storyteller standing in, not I'm Shyamalan standing in.
Sure.
So that part, that didn't bother me.
Yeah.
I kind of like that. I actually like Shyamalan a lot.
Me too. And that movie I love the cast of that movie. But yeah, you were in like the big party scene.
Yeah.
And I
mean, I was a featured extra. I had SAG waivers and everything.
Yeah. Here's the thing: is for anybody who hasn't Googled you yet, Matt's 6'8".
Yeah.
Like you're not. You can't put you in a crowd. Yeah, you can't put you in a crowd of people.
Yeah,
and just
I'm very much the subject of the frame. That I'm in,
regardless of whether they were trying for you to be or not.
Yeah.
So you were working a ton on film there, and is that sort of where you cut your teeth as far as like, oh, I can be on a professional set.
Yeah,
because I feel like that's something that some people out here don't have.
Yeah,
and that's something that maybe like even film school students, like they come out here and then they start making their own stuff, and that's great, and they're doing what they love, but they don't have any experience on like a professionally run.
Like many people. I forget that how fortunate I am to be on set all the time because I talk to so many of my friends who are also directors and writers and stuff like that. Like, oh yeah, I was on like a big set once, or I'll show someone a picture like, wow, look at all those trucks. I was like, oh yeah, that's a normal day for me. I realize I'm very fortunate, and I think that's a benefit. As you said, I would like to be a director, and I think that gives me a little bit of an edge because if I step on a set that I'm directing one day, like it's not as intimidating. Like, oh, I'm used to seeing all this stuff every day.
Honestly, it's very different, but I say the same thing. Like if you really want to be a filmmaker, you don't have any way to get into the industry and you have literally zero connections, you need to sign up and you become an extra. And you need to literally spend all day on set making no money as a meat prop and just observing. Like literally the time that I spent doing extra work, I learned so much just about how a film set works. Again, and I'm speaking of somebody who didn't go to film school, like it was so crucial to me because when you're an extra, you literally have nothing to do. You're standing around watching people. So you see the importance of everybody instead of just like, oh, here's the director doing this or here's the DP.
It's amazing how well oiled a machine it is after a few decades. Everyone does their own thing and it all still just comes together.
It literally is like a ton of gears all working in unison.
Yeah, but I don't know the names of half the people that I'm working with.
Right,
but it all just comes together because everyone knows what their job is.
That's just because you're a jerk and you just don't bother remembering names.
I'm terrible with names.
I was terrible with your name for a while.
Yeah,
because all right, so your nickname is Lank.
Yes,
Lank.
Yes,
and for a while, people would refer to Lank, and I would have no idea they're talking about you because I think when we met, you introduced yourself as Matt.
Okay.
And you gave
I go back and forth.
And you gave me your business card with your fantastic little slogan, creating optical illusions. ALL. Yeah. Well done. Where did Lank come from? Do you like that name?
I do actually.
You do? Okay.
It came from college. From film school. No, it was the first week of college. I was in the dorm, and we're doing that thing where the whole floor of the dorm, we meet in the little common area. Everyone's sitting in a circle, and everyone introduces themselves, talks about themselves.
Right.
And of maybe 30 people or so, by the time it got to me in the circle, I was literally like the fifth Matt on the floor.
Oh, geez.
And the guy across from me, he just pointed at me. He goes, "All right, you're Lanky now." I was like, "How about Lank?" He's like, "All right, cool." And it stuck. And that's where I come from.
Wow.
Just a guy pointed at me and said it to me.
A quick adoption, too.
Yeah. It was kind of nice, too, because being a freshman, not knowing people would walk by my door, like, "Oh, Lank." Like, that's kind of a fun thing to just say.
Right.
"What's up, Lank?" So
and also,
I use it on when I'm more so when I'm on set these days,
right.
Because it's easy to remember.
It is.
But then I get into trouble because it's easy to remember. Like, "Oh, hey, Lank," and I'm like, "Hey, I've worked with you 10 times. I still remember your name."
Especially because your nickname is something about your description.
Yes.
You can't be like, "Hey, what's up, big nose?" Yeah. "Hey, what's up, gap tooth?" Like, you can't. It doesn't work for everybody.
Yeah.
We started me telling you how you're such an anomaly as far as like you get along with everybody.
Okay.
I know you come from a pretty well-rounded family.
Yeah.
Your mother's delightful. We spoke in the car a couple days.
That's
a
right.
couple months ago.
I forgot about that.
You chat with your mom pretty regularly every Sunday.
Yeah, call my parents every Sunday.
That's really
Same
endearing.
time every Sunday makes it easy.
I feel like you're one of the few people I know who has. Really? You're definitely the first guest of this show. No, I'm kidding. Who has like a really healthy relationship. With your parents.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you go to college, you definitely have like a college bro style.
Do I?
That doesn't, in my opinion, properly equate to your personality. Because you're a nerd. You equate yourself as a nerd. You're a big nerd. And I feel like you look like the guy. You look like a villain in an '80s movie sometimes. You have sort of like
with my denim jackets. And
you have sort of like the yacht style.
Yeah.
Like you look like a rich kid in an '80s movie.
Yeah. I always wanted to be cool and well liked and everything, but I wanted to do it.
You are.
Thank you. But I wanted to do it on my own terms. Like I was never like in the popular group in school, but I wanted to be, but I didn't. So like trying to balance that with like also trying to be myself.
Right.
So like, I don't know, maybe that's where that comes from. Like I want to.
So do you consider yourself a people pleaser?
Yes. Well, I don't know if about people pleaser, but I want everyone to like me. That I know for sure.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of a thing.
And maybe that's also why you don't ruffle feathers.
Maybe.
But simultaneously, I mean, maybe I'm blowing up your spot here. Like you don't like everybody. You know, like everybody.
I wouldn't say
likes
that
you.
There's anyone that I hate.
No,
I don't like. I don't like that word.
Really?
I don't like the idea of hating anyone.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess in common everyday talk, when describing people, I tend to not use that word. I tend to say I can't stand that person.
There are people that annoy me. There are people that I would rather not hang out with.
Sure.
But yeah, I don't
try to avoid
anybody. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You tend to be, again, you tend to be a more of a positive mindset, sort of like, get along with everybody.
Yeah.
But, again, you're sort of an anomaly in this town, in this industry.
Well, going back to like school and high school and stuff, I was friends with each of like the popular kids.
Right.
That we were all cool, and I could say hi to them and be like, "Oh, hey, what's up?"
Right.
But I was never in that group.
Which is weird because you are even out here. You're sort of a social butterfly.
I like being out. I like hanging with people. I am very introverted, but I do like seeing people in social events.
It's weird why you're nervous about this. Is because like when you're saying like, "Oh, I'm nervous to like sit down and have a chat with you," because I'm like, "Oh, but you're always so jovial."
I'm a terrible like speaker, like off the cuff speaker.
Really?
Yeah. Like I
think
don't
it's
have
more in your head than you think it is.
Maybe. Like I can do public speaking just fine. Like if I have a sheet in front of me
to read,
but I'm terrible with speaking, especially in a group. Like I'm very quiet if I'm in a group setting.
Yeah,
but
I mean, I don't think that you have a proper view of yourself.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, because I don't think anybody would describe you as that. You're definitely reserved.
Sure, yeah.
Like you're not gonna be the guy who like you and me go see a movie, and then afterwards we talk about it, and I'm the guy yelling in the parking lot, like, "What are you talking about? You're fucking idiot!" You're definitely not gonna be that guy.
No.
But you're also not like timid. You know,
No.
you're not the person who doesn't ever speak. Like, I don't think anybody would.
Yeah.
I think
It's funny. I've noticed that I speak up more in group settings when people start talking about movies.
Really?
That's when like I get really involved. Like,
excited?
oh wait, what are you guys talking about? Oh
Yeah.
yeah, that movie sucked.
It always goes to that. And you know, that's another thing that's interesting too, just about kind of our friendship. And I think another reason why we get along is like, you know that I care a lot about you, and I think that you know a version of me that hopefully as this show continues, more people will get, because for years I definitely have the persona of being kind of an asshole. You know, I'm not unaware, friends, of, you know, but the truth is most of the people that have that feeling don't really know who I am. And I think it's because so much of me is like my gimmick.
Right.
And I know that sounds like I'm a fucking
Right. No, you're like
sociopath.
one of the nicest people I know, and you're always like willing to. I like that you put it. Where did you put it? You described yourself somewhere. It was somewhere online. You said,
I think you described it somewhere.
No. You have it written down. I was like, that's a really good way to describe
about like
you
the
said,
guy that you assume hates you, but he's the only guy that shows up to help you move.
Yeah. I was like, that's really apt. That's Jake.
I thought you came up with that.
No.
Where did that come from?
I mean, I'll take credit for it, but
I
was
thought
not
you
me.
came up with that. Somebody said that.
Sure.
I thought it was you.
I don't think so.
Oh, in any case, yeah, that's. I feel like our relationship is interesting because I feel like my sort of, and this probably again just comes from, you know, youngest sibling syndrome or whatever. My sort of like my need to be one simultaneously self-deprecating and also that cocky character. Because I definitely like tend to be. My sense of humor is that of like, you're an idiot. What are you doing? You know, like, and it sort of walks the line between those two. And I feel like at least I don't think I've ever offended you. And I don't think that I've ever like, and I could be an asshole to you.
Yeah.
I can say really jerky things to you. And you
sometimes you do.
And you tend to laugh at me for the most part. Or you get that, like, it's just.
I get that you're joking around and that you're a ball buster and stuff.
Yeah. And I feel like.
And I like that. Actually, I wish I was more of a ball buster. Like, I don't have it in me.
Really?
Terrible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like when I'm online playing people in Call of Duty,
and
I have nothing. I'm like, oh, you're the one that sucks.
They're like, yeah, screw you, jerk. You're like, yeah, hope you have a great gaming experience.
Yeah. Like, well, you tried your best.
Yeah, but and again, like we might be sort of an odd couple in that sense.
Sure. Maybe we're complimentary, maybe.
Yeah, because you're a kind guy.
Thank you.
You're a very kind guy. You have a sibling too.
Yeah, I have an older sister.
Kristen. And do you think that your like sort of general get along with everybody is comes from like your family themselves and the fact that they're all kind of nice, kind,
I don't know,
well-rounded people?
I don't know. I just try to be nice.
Don't try to make it sound so easy. All right.
I don't know. Me and my sister, we got along really well. I think we only had like one fight in our entire lives.
Really?
Yeah, and it was like lasted for 5 seconds, and then we were fine.
Interesting.
But we've always got along. We're not super close, but we just always got along because really, what's there to fight about?
Well,
with your big sister.
Wow, that's well. You just ruined.
Maybe I was really lucky.
Yeah, I was gonna say you just voided the need for my entire existence right there. What's the point? All right, well, I guess. Inversely from the like everything is fucking rainbows and butterflies with you. Like we've had conversations about problems, about things that bother you and bother me, and like you're not an unemotional person.
No.
It's not like you're sort of this facade, which is kind of what I talked about earlier, where like I feel like a lot of people, the reason nobody hates them is because they don't really know who they are. I feel like, and this, I don't know if it's because you and I are close, so I get this version of you. Maybe other people don't get this version of you, but like I feel like I know a lot about what's going on with you in your head. I know a lot about what's happening when you're in a relationship or kind of that sort of stuff. I was gonna say, do you feel like?
I mean, I consider you one of my closer friends, so I think I feel more comfortable,
a little more open.
Yeah.
And do you consider yourself kind of an open person publicly though? Like, or are you more?
I won't be the one that comes forth, but if someone asks me something, I'm pretty honest and I'm pretty open.
Really?
I'm not really shy about personal stuff too much. I just won't be the one that comes out and say
right.
But with you're not
going to be like, all right, guys, this is what's been bothering me today.
Yeah. But I know I can do that with you, and probably I know that you'll be honest with me. Right. Like I know you'll tell me like, oh, you're being an idiot.
Oh, okay. Oh,
so I appreciate that. So it feels good talking to you because I know you won't sugarcoat.
Oh yeah,
you'll never sugarcoat anything.
I'm not a sugarcoated person. Well, I appreciate that. But is your family the type of family who doesn't really speak about things? Because
yes.
oh, really? So they're that like, because again, and now I consistently referencing people that have been on the show. I hope listeners have listened to some of these episodes because they're friends of ours. So it's pertinent to our conversation. Right. Our mutual friend, Brian Finifter, he said the same thing sort of about his family, where it's like, he's similar to you in that sense, where he's not going to be an open book necessarily publicly, but if you ask him, he'll tell you everything.
Yeah.
And his family is also this thing like where they kind of don't really have like the serious conversation. And it's not that they're cold, because I wouldn't consider your family cold, but like you guys don't have those sort of like real heart to hearts or those sort of like.
Yeah, that sounds exactly like my family.
Really?
We obviously, got along with my family really well.
Yeah.
And they were always loving and always supportive and all this stuff. And I think if I ever went to any of them, it's like, I have this embarrassing problem, but I need to talk to you. I think if I did, they would be totally like, yeah, let's talk. And I don't think they would ever be like judgmental, really. But it was never. It would be very uncomfortable,
right?
Yeah.
Do you think?
And I don't know. Like I want to know kind of more about my parents before their lives were like, but like I'm afraid of like, oh, they're gonna tell me something embarrassing. I don't want them to be embarrassed in front of me. So I don't know. So it's I'm trying to get a little closer with them in that way.
Oh, interesting. You're trying to kind of open or break down some walls, so to speak.
Yeah,
maybe?
But very slowly.
Right. Did you always have friends who you sort of could have more emotional connections with or more real connections with?
Maybe not until later.
Really?
Maybe like in college. Growing up, I never had like the group of friends.
Right.
Growing up, I always had like the one best friend that
like
I hang.
You were a partner kind of guy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So middle school, I had one friend. Elementary school, I had one friend. High school, I had one friend. And then in college, that's when I had a group of friends with a great group of guys. I could tell any of them anything.
I feel like I was kind of like that too. Or not so much that, but I feel like all of my individual friends weren't a group. Like I didn't only have one friend. I just had friendships.
I see.
Like, and part of that is lasted until now because like, I mean, you were one of my closest friends, Tony Wayne, Paul Bianchi.
But you, me, and Paul like don't hang out together that often.
No, not even that. But like you, Paul, and Tony. When are you, Paul, and Tony ever going to do anything without me?
Right. Yeah, you're the nexus there.
But I feel like maybe you were similar to that way, where like you had individual friendships that weren't necessarily a group.
Not even. No? I literally had one friend that I hung out through 90% of high school.
Really?
And we didn't even go to the same high school.
Oh, really? How did that happen?
He went to the private school in town.
But you were in the same neighborhood though.
Nope.
Wait, how do you even meet?
We met in middle school. He actually went to the public middle school for 2 years, and other than that, he went to all.
Separated.
Yeah, but we stayed. We stayed best friends. Yeah.
Interesting. And so the reason I asked about having somebody like that to talk to is because I feel like people that I know that aren't really close to their family in that sense. And again, I'm being very general with these statements. I don't mean that you're not close with your family.
Sure.
People who don't have those sort of like emotional, therapeutic, let's use that term, conversations. I feel like those people always had like a friend that was like that or friends. And that was sort of me up until a certain age when I was able to really kind of speak with probably my oldest sister, Celia, is probably the person who I could have like, this is what's happening in my brain or that kind of stuff. Cause even I couldn't really speak with my mother or my brother or my sisters like for a long time, but I had this friend's family that knew everything, And you don't know if you were like that. You were just sort of a not quiet kid. I mean, you were sort of not a
Yeah, I got those people later on, sure.
Yeah.
And even my high school best friend, the girl that he ended up marrying, there was the three of us for a while, and me and her became very close. So she was a person I could definitely talk to about anything. Right. She probably knows me better than anybody. 90% of people, yeah. And
now after staying in New Jersey for a little while after school, you come out to LA, and that's when you're like, kind of finding yourself, finding what you want to do.
Yeah, I had wanted to come out to LA ever since I graduated.
Right.
And it was kind of one of those things where I was going to move out with one friend, like, oh yeah, I'm just going to graduate first, and then we're going to move together.
How many people like partner move, and then it fucks up one of them.
Yeah, and it was going to be me and another guy. We were going to move out together, and then that kind of didn't happen. And then it literally became a thing where like it was a relationship thing. Things fell apart, and like that night, I called up Chad, and I was like, Chad, I'm coming out to LA. He's like, finally. And I
Nice.
set a date and I stuck to it. And
Well, thank God for
That was
that
it.
girl.
yeah,
Whatever awful thing she did to you, or inversely, you did to her, because
she's doing fine.
she's
fine
doing
now.
fine.
She's happy.
I mean, again, out here, you have this persona, you have this, this sort of like everybody loves Lank, and I know a version of you that maybe now I'm discovering that maybe not everybody knows, and that is like you've suffered with like attention, you suffered with like concentration. You've talked a little bit to me previously about like you sort of struggle on a day-to-day basis with like completing certain tasks, and sort of staying focused.
Yeah. I don't know if I I can give it a name, because I don't think I have
like the ADHD or the titles. I talk a little bit about this on a previous episode of the show. Is I feel sometimes it's the same way. But for me, it's more specific. Of like, I have trouble working during the day. Like I get so much more work done at night. For some reason, there's less distractions. I think maybe I am a little bit easier distracted, but also I feel like maybe the pressure sometimes of all of the things that you have to be doing or that you should be doing negates your ability to do any one of them.
Yeah.
And I don't know, and I think it's more of an emotional thing than a brain thing, than more of like my brain isn't functioning properly to concentrate or whatever.
Yeah.
But like you must have had some semblance of self-realization of this to start discussing it. And I can't remember or not. If you don't want to talk about this, it's totally fine. We can have it. But do you go to therapy, or have you seen a therapist?
I do, yeah.
When did that start? Because I feel like that's the sort of thing that, from what you've told me and from what I know about your history and the way you grew up and where you come from, like that seems like a thing that wouldn't even be on your radar.
Yeah. It was a girl I was seeing at the time. She recommended I go see a therapist. It was more about relationship problems at the time,
right?
And then it kind of segued of the many things I've talked about them with.
Right.
But yeah, that's something I bring up all the time, is that my struggle to start projects and complete projects and stuff like that.
And it's not even just projects. It's like sometimes it's just day-to-day shit. Sometimes it's like...
It's more so...
The bigger stuff?
Yeah, it's more so the projects and stuff, yeah.
See, for me, it tends to be some of the day-to-day stuff.
Really?
It's that like, oh, I got to go to the fucking bank today.
See, I don't know. See, when I think about you, I think you're someone that's always busy. You're always doing something. I feel like you're getting stuff done a lot. Like you tell me that you sit around and watch a lot of movies, but I don't see it. Like you said, you're always doing a million things. You're running a podcast network.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I get that, but that's why I think for me, that's what I'm saying. Maybe it's not the projects for me as much as it is the like the existing as a human adult in the world.
Right.
Maybe I might irk more or not irk. What's the word I'm looking for? Like. Circumnavigating. Shirk. Is that the word I'm looking for?
I think that's
Is that a word?
I think so. Shirk your responsibilities.
Yeah, right. That sounds like a thing.
Sure.
Welcome to Word Talk USA, everybody. We're top of the hour here. If you're coming back, yeah. So, anyways, I shirk my responsibilities, maybe in lieu of the projects, because I feel like the projects make me happy,
right?
And that's not necessarily healthy either. Like I'm proud of the fact that I am
Yeah. Well, this is actually something I was telling my therapist a few weeks ago. Like I was telling him, like, I think I feel like a pretty well-rounded person.
Yeah.
But I told him like I would sacrifice some of that in order to be, have like a better work ethic and stuff like that. Like I wish, like, well, I got this stuff going. He needs a little help in the personality department. I would definitely trade some for.
I like that he needs some work in the personality department. Like that's a thing somebody's gonna say to you.
Something
that shows how nice you are. Like you were trying to think of the insult, and that's what it was. It was, I hope he needs work in the personality department. Oh, geez.
But that makes sense, right?
So yeah, no, I totally get it. No. And so, did you find that therapy was beneficial to you? Because clearly you kept going and you know.
Yeah. It's hard to say. More than anything, it just feels good to talk to someone that you are literally paying them to be non-judgmental and to listen to you, and you don't have to feel. Because like when I talk to you about things, part of me is like, all right, now you tell me what's going on, because that's just common. That's just being a normal, nice human.
So you're paying somebody to be. You're paying somebody so that you can be selfish.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's an interesting way to put it.
So I don't know. It's hard to say whether it's helping or not, but it is nice to just talk.
Right.
So I recommend everybody do therapy.
Yeah, I honestly, it's been a theme that's come up on the show many times. I feel like people that go to therapy, or at least do things that are therapeutic in nature in that sense, whether it's like, even if it's something like talking to your mom every day on Sunday, if you and your mom are the type of people who open up about things. Or
Yeah.
some people like have a sibling or a best friend who like every week they have that long, as long as that person isn't toxic or, an enabler.
Yeah.
Because that could lean into it hard the other direction.
Yeah.
But I feel like, those people tend to be so much better rounded, they have a great sense of self-awareness,
Yeah.
which is something I think you have. I think you're very self-aware, which sometimes might be the reason you get in your own way, like you said.
Probably.
About like, I know
I'm
that.
very introspective, yeah.
Yeah, you're super introspective.
Yeah.
But you've taken, some efforts to kind of fix that and improve on that. What are you doing to try to combat that?
I don't know. I'm trying anything that'll work. If
Really?
anyone has any ideas, please email me.
At needswork in the personality department at gmail.com.
No, I've tried a lot of things. I tried going on Ritalin for a little bit.
Really?
Yeah.
And how did you feel like that made you act and feel?
It was interesting. So like you were saying before, you have all these things to do. You don't know where to start, so you don't end up doing any of them.
Compartmentalizing.
Yeah. So what the interesting about Ritalin was for me, so I have that problem normally. I don't know where to start, so I don't do anything. I would just pick something on Ritalin, like, all right, well, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to spend the next 5 days in a row doing nothing but that thing, even if it wasn't the most important. So that's why I ended up not staying on it, because it was helping me stay focused on things, but it wasn't the thing that I needed to be doing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of do remember now that you're reminding me that. I think I remember you starting that and telling me you're doing that. I remember you saying that you were happy at first because you did feel like it was helping you.
Yeah.
But ultimately,
I mean, I got a lot of stuff done, but it wasn't
the
any
good stuff.
Script writing or storyboarding or anything like that.
And so how long were you doing that for?
Maybe just a few months.
And was that something that was like prescribed by?
I talked to the doctor about it, and he was like, "Yeah, sure,
you could try it."
Yeah.
Yeah.
My doctor's very. I feel like I could, like, I kind of want to try this thing. Like, okay,
good to know. Good to know.
Not that, yeah.
Gonna get a Charlie Bartlett on your ass. Yeah.
No, I think he trusts me, and that I'm not going to abuse anything.
Yeah.
But
and so it wasn't something that he necessarily urged.
No, it was something I talked about with him. Gotcha.
And you were open to just being like, hey, I'll try it.
Yeah.
Because that's something, admittedly, that I don't know that I'm. And I don't know if it's sort of in the same world. I'm sure it exists in the same world. I'm not sure if people are aware of this. Of course, I hate the term, but I'm straight edge for lack of better description.
Sure.
I don't drink. I don't smoke. I try not to do anything other than like Advil and ibuprofen, drug wise. And I feel like that's the sort of thing that I would be legitimately fearful. And I don't know why. And people have talked to me about it like, oh, Jake, you're a control freak. That's why you don't like drinking, and because you don't like you're afraid to let yourself go. And people have like really come down hard on me and criticized me, saying like, "Oh, it shows your fear. It shows your inability to see beyond something, or that sort of thing. Like your inability to experience more outside of yourself." As people have spoken about my lack of willingness or lack of desire to drink or to be drunk or to be high or to do shrooms. People are always like, oh, you should do have that experience. And I've always been sort of like, I don't feel like I've needed it or desired it. But when it comes to that, like, oh, here's a prescription medication that's going to alter the way your brain works.
Yeah,
that's straight up fear.
Really?
Like, that's straight up. I literally have anxiety over like I'm afraid of that.
Wow.
And of course the irony is maybe I take it and the fear goes away and everything else gets better.
Yeah, just take some Paxil along with whatever else.
Oh, great! Just counter it out. But you weren't trepidatious at all personally? Because
No, because I used to be straight edge for a long time. I didn't drink or anything in college. No.
Oh, I didn't know. Did I know that?
I don't know.
I don't think I knew that.
I feel like I must have told you maybe years ago. But like the first beer I had was like one of the very last days living in my college apartment with the guys. I was like, you know what? Now it's time.
At like 22 or how old you are?
Yeah, I probably I just turned 23 or something.
Oh, gee. Oh, right, yeah.
So I think I had convinced myself that like, okay, I can handle, or I have self-control. Right. I think I'll be okay.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And with that said, I don't consider you, like, I've seen you at parties drinking, but I don't think I've ever seen like a sloppy Matt Hingstman. Really? Yeah. No.
Once in a while I get pretty sloppy.
Do you really?
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen you really kind of sloppy.
If you see me like talking like this with my hands a lot, that's when you know. And if I'm like yelling about Star Wars, I've probably probably means I've had a couple.
That's like, oh shit, he's
here he goes.
He's defending Phantom Menace again.
That's
there
literally
goes
what I
Matt.
do.
I know it's what you do. I know you.
But Ritalin is very much a stimulant. Let me tell you.
Oh, really?
It's kind of like, especially within the first, half hour of taking it, you feel good.
Do you really?
I was not expecting that. I don't know if it's really a side effect. That's kind of the point.
It's an effect.
Yeah, it's an effect. I was like, oh, I really love this song. I'm gonna blast this right now. I was not prepared for that. That was interesting.
Back to compartmentalizing things and making stuff work. Once you're stopped taking the Ritalin, and nowadays, what are you doing proactively to combat that? And to, you know what I mean? Like, what are you doing off of Ritalin to fix the problem?
Right. I don't know. I go through ups and downs like a lot of people do. Like, I'll be good for a few weeks and I'll be bad for a few weeks.
Right.
I don't know. I realize I'm a person that I don't like routine. I can't imagine having a 9-to-5 job, but I know that I function so much better on a routine. Like during college, I had an internship and I had a job, and it was the same hours every day, every week.
And you enjoyed that.
And I went to the gym every single day, got stuff done. But as soon as that was gone, I was off it again.
Your mindset was different.
So I know I need routine. I know that's extremely difficult with the line of work that I've chosen to keep me.
Sorta.
Yeah. But what I'm doing,
what works? Because you say sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. What are you doing when it's good? Are you aware of it? Are you self-conscious of it, or are you not sure?
I'm just trying harder. I'm trying to put more effort in.
Is there anything technical? Because I know that you and I both suffer from the same problem of, like, when your phone is in your hand, you're on fucking Twitter, or like, are you doing something actively to alter what happens when you wake up in the morning, or, I
mean, I always think about, I don't know, I'm still trying to work out some kind of routine, but I'm still trying to figure out how to do that when sometimes I have work 7 a.m. Monday and then 4 p.m. on Wednesday, and then I sleep till late because I was up late working the night. So, like, how do I establish a routine?
And that's the thing, is also, like, when your hours are absolutely crazy, it's not as much as a routine as it is habits.
Yeah.
I think we need habits.
Yeah. Something really good I read a while ago. I was like, don't try to motivate yourself, because motivation is fleeting. Get into a habit. You have to do things whether you're motivated or not. And I was like, that's really smart. That is really smart. Yeah,
because I mean, like, how do you explain motivation to somebody who suffers from depression?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like, motivation is going to get you through a week because you're feeling motivated. And then guess what happens? You stop feeling motivated.
Exactly. Oh, I've noticed when I have specific goals and I know exactly what I have to do and I know what the end looks like, I'm much better at doing that. So, like, when I was editing the last short film that I made, when it was in the middle, it's like, okay, I know exactly where I am. I know what needs to be done today. And I know what the day is going to be like. I was much better at getting stuff done
when there was a map, when there was a roadmap.
Yeah. Whereas, like, okay, I'm going to start writing a script today. Like, when it's much more open-ended, that's when I have trouble getting started.
And you know what? Down. I kind of, for me, it's sort of the same thing, which is why I feel like I'm always so much better working on other people's stuff than my own. Because, like, I would much rather rewrite something somebody else wrote than start writing something of my own.
Yeah.
Because you could see the problem and you know what tool you need. You know that you need to crank this wrench and that you need to spin that thing, and at the end the engine will work.
Yeah, I'm the same exact way. I think I'm better at looking at other scripts and seeing, like, okay, well, this you need to do this, and this, rather than.
And this is something that isn't just, industry isn't just script. This is, like, literally tasks throughout the day. Something that I've started doing, which I don't know if we've talked about this and all. I don't know. Is there a yellow page with a list in front of you right there on the table? No. Oh, it must be on my desk inside.
It's on the counter.
Oh, so you saw it. So you saw it earlier. So
yeah, I didn't want to look because I don't like to be nosy like that.
I mean, honestly, it's totally fine. So this is what I've started doing. Essentially, started making to-do lists with different tiers, and they're little check marks. It's all just written out by hand. And so example, like, this says, like, figure out the poster and promotional stuff for Pinch, which is the film. And this is obviously, people are hearing this a little bit later than it was recorded. This, as we're recording this, it's a couple days before I'm leaving for New York. So I have these things to do. So under that check mark, there's, like, do postcards, do posters, and then pick up the thing from Costco, and then do this. And then underneath that, it says, like, who's watching Cosmo. And then under that, it says, like, set up elaborate recordings for July. And then it has the dates of all of the release dates of these shows that we're doing. And having this and filling in these little, I fill in the boxes as if it's like a Scantron sheet for trying to describe this to listeners. Like, this has started to help me.
Yeah.
Because this gives me a roadmap. And what's nice about this is the things that have tiers, I can see, oh, if I just do this and this, then this main check mark is, if I just do sub task 1 and sub task 2, then main task is done. And it gives me that thing that's taken care of. Whereas when I don't have this, I'm usually just like, what do I have to do today? And I'm usually just sitting around thinking about what I have to do today for an hour.
That's what all the productivity blogs and essays and stuff say, like break it up into smaller.
Oh, really?
Things,
I'm doing a thing that people are supposed to do?
Yeah, you're on top of it.
Oh, am I though? Because look at how many of these are not checked off. This has been like a week.
There's a couple.
It's been like a week this has been done. But I think we help each other. I think that's we have a very good relationship that way. Where you say that I don't candy coat shit, and I feel like you probably talk me off of ledges a lot.
Maybe.
Do you mean as far as like when I'm at my most frazzled, I feel like you sort of like zen me out.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
It's gonna be great.
It's gonna be great.
Yeah, you. Oh man, I think we have a show episode name. Maybe it's not 3 words. It doesn't fit the scheme. But you, when you say it's gonna be great, it means so many different things to me. It means, one, Jake, shut up, relax. You're being obnoxious. It means, hey, it's literally gonna be. It's like a hand on the shoulder. It's also it might not be great, but who cares? Like,
I think it's usually that last one. I think it's mostly sarcasm when I say that. People listening, that's something I say.
Yeah, constantly. He says it to me constantly. And you said it stemmed from a Star Wars behind the scenes of episode 1.
Yeah, it's literally George Lucas showing Spielberg something, and before either of them knew it was going to be terrible, and like, oh yeah, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. They literally go back and forth like 6 times.
Trying to convince themselves and each other that it is actually going to be great.
I think that's why I do it. I'm convincing myself, like, no, it's going to be great.
It's going to be great. It's going to be great. Let's speak a little bit really quickly about, we've kind of glossed over kind of just the love of movies and stuff like that. Like, where did that come from you? Because you're a Jersey boy. I'm surprised you don't like Kevin Smith more. You never even saw those movies until you met me.
No.
Like, where did the love from sort of fantasy and sci-fi, and because I feel like that's kind of what was your gateway, right? Was sort of the more genre stuff.
Yeah, and I'm still a big fan of all that stuff. I don't know where it comes from, honestly. It's something I didn't even realize about myself until like the middle of high school.
Really?
Even as a kid, I liked going to the movies a lot. Like, I enjoyed the experience and the smell of the popcorn and all that stuff.
Right. So you like the spectacle, because that's something that we definitely haven't touched upon. You go to like 60 movies a year.
Yeah, about. Last year I went 67 times. Like,
for you, it's still an experience, and I love that about you. And I wish I could go more, but for me, it's time and money. But like you don't know where it all began. Like, did your parents take you when you were young?
I mean, not any more than any other kid.
No.
But I mean, I did all the things that like a lot of directors say they did as kids. Like, I wanted to make my own little movies and stuff. There were a lot that I wanted to and never made, and I never got around to it. So I haven't changed that much since then. But but I made a few little things, and I had planned out doing things like that. I wanted to be a comic book artist for the longest time. So there's some similarities.
We talked about this.
Yeah.
Me, you, was it Pierce?
It was Paul.
Yeah. Like the three or four of us, or it was just 3 of us. We're all sitting in a room, and we all realized that simultaneously that as high schoolers, we all wanted to be comic book artists.
Yeah.
And none of us are comic book artists.
I wanted to for the longest time, but no, there's a lot of similarities there. It's a lot of visual storytelling.
Yeah. Well, exactly. Yeah, it's. I mean, you're storyboarding a movie. It's really all you're doing. It's just a difference of putting it on camera versus putting it on page.
Yeah, exactly. And then in high school, I realized I was already doing all the things that I should be doing anyway. I spent hours and hours and hours in the little computer media room in my high school. I was there before school and after school, just messing around in Final Cut Pro.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I was gonna go into
in high school.
In high school, yeah, I was very fortunate.
I think
shout out to Mr. Range, who always let me hang out in his room and just dick around the computers.
I feel like maybe our age difference, as slight as it may be, shows in this, because I cannot imagine anywhere in my high school or even like around that time, like somebody sitting with a computer with Final Cut on it. Like,
No, I was very fortunate.
Yeah, that's incredible. In high school.
Yeah. Yeah.
Could you imagine what high school students right now have?
They don't even have it in high school. They have it on their own computers.
Yeah, it's yeah. I hate everybody. Fucking jerks. They're all jerks. Anyways, so then you just sort of discovered it, and it was like, hey, I guess this is what I'm doing with my life now.
Well, yeah. And then after messing around for years on those computers, making I was doing little FX tests and all this stuff, and lightsabers, like you do.
Yeah, everybody does lightsabers. Yeah.
And I realized oh wait, I can do this as a career, and it just kind of hit me.
Which is interesting because you said that you wanted to be a director of photography or cinematographer first,
yes,
but you didn't have a background in photography. Usually, I feel like that's the transition.
Not really, no.
Interesting.
No.
And you never really pursued photography itself.
A little bit. I mean, I enjoy photography.
Right.
I never got super deep in it. I enjoy taking pictures.
Right. But it wasn't like a
composing.
Right. Which is essentially which is what makes you enjoy doing movies.
Exactly. Well, and that's partly why I stepped away from cinematography. I realized I didn't have the passion for it. I realized all the things that I love about cinematography, the framing of shots and some of the choices and some of the lighting and stuff, all that stuff I can still have control over as a director. But all that stuff I don't like about it, the technical
somebody else is taking care of it.
Yeah. Like learning about cameras and lenses and stuff like that. It's like, that stuff doesn't really interest me that much. Like, let somebody else deal with the technical stuff.
You're more of you want to be more of the artist to somebody else's more of the engineer.
Yeah.
Which I totally get. I mean, the only reason that I know anything about anything is because of necessity. Like the only reason that I started really learning about, videography and cinematography was because nobody else was going to shoot my thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of had no choice.
Mm-hmm.
So I get that mentality. I'd much rather just be the creative force.
No, I think that's
lazy.
I think it's a good mindset to have. I think you should know a little bit of everything.
Well, it's like you were saying before. That's kind of why you enjoy, being on set and staring around and understanding every part of it.
Yeah.
Well, in any case, Matt, you were one of my absolute favorite people. We're gonna have a lot more of these, I think, because I want to talk to you about. I want to get really deep into kind of the love of film score. I'd love to talk about the way that stuff makes you feel.
Yeah.
I want to talk about dating and relationships because I feel like you're the person who I speak the most with.
Sure.
Probably about, matters of the heart in both of our lives. We just barely scratched the surface here. How do you feel? Because you said you were nervous.
I feel good. I was nervous. I got into it, definitely.
It's easy.
I feel good now, yeah.
It's easy. We're just two pals, just having a chat. Just shooting the shit. And the only thing that we didn't do this time was get into a fight about how bad Spider-Man 2 is.
Oh, so good.
It's terrible.
It's still better than the new one that just came out. I saw last night.
Terrible.
It's so good.
How do people find you on the internet to troll you about Spider-Man 2?
They can troll me about Spider-Man 2 on Twitter. I am at Matt_Hingstman. You can look at some of my nice pictures on Instagram at
Hingstman.
Instagram, I'm at Hingstman.
Couldn't get the same one twice?
No, I don't know.
You.
I don't know what I was thinking.
It's the worst. As always, please follow me on Twitter at LiquidJake. And please follow the still sort of brand new social media accounts for the show itself at ElaboratePod, both on Twitter and Instagram. And as always, at It's Dragon Wagon on all social media for everything Dragon Wagon Radio. Thank you so much for listening. Please keep throwing us iTunes reviews. Please tell us how you feel. Tell us how we're doing. Tell us how you're doing. After all, the show is about you.
I still have to review. I haven't written one yet.
You haven't?
No, on iTunes. I feel bad.
And now it's weird because now you've been on it. So now it's sort of like the authenticity.
This one episode is really great.
The authenticity is a little bit gone now. All right. Well, thanks again, listeners. Until next week, be great to each other. Love you, Matt.
Love you, buddy.
Hey, guys. I am sitting here with Cheryl Jones. How's it going, Cheryl?
Fine. How are you?
I'm great. You have a podcast.
I do have a podcast. It's called Movies Made Me.
And when you say movies that made you mean your favorite movies, right?
Well, maybe, but maybe not. It could be a movie you hate, but if it influenced you in some way to be who you are, that's what we're talking about.
Fantastic. So every episode you have a different person on.
Yes.
Who tells you their top 5 most influential movies. How do people find it?
They can find it at mmmpodcast.com, iTunes, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, and Google Play Music.
It's Dragon Wagon.